Oh my God, what a drama. Just to sit down to start recording, and I noticed the camera on my on Meet wasn't being detected. Now, I noticed this morning when I was on another call. The camera wasn't being detected and wasn't working. So I thought, oh, no problems, quick reboot. And should be good, right? Fix it all up. No, it reboots once. Took a long time to even bring up the Dell splash screen, and then it sat there for a long time, and then it started booting and started seeing a lot of USB error, cannot enumerate device, USB error, cannot detect device, blah blah blah. What is going on here? And so I booted up, tried to boot up again, and I did get it to boot, but the external keyboard and mouse weren't working. For some strange reason, stuff through USB-C was working, the display and the microphone for some reason, but the external USB mouse and keyboard were not working. The camera wasn't working, so something is died at a hardware level for USB devices on that laptop, and then I couldn't shut it down. Even holding the power button down wouldn't shut it down. So sitting over there on the couch at the moment, just in Gaga land. So I think it's a new laptop for me. So scramble to get another laptop. Now I've got literally in this room 1, 2, 3. Including the dead one. Oh, and my wife's one. I've got 5 laptops in this room just with me at the moment. Do you think I could find one that was actually going to work?
And with Audacity installed as well.
Well, now this is the rub, right? I've got a newish one over there with the Windows 11 on it. I thought, right, I'll quickly whip that one out, do Audacity, log in, all the rest of it. I did that. And the sound card I've got, it's an oldish sound card, but it works just fine with Linux. Nah, not with Windows 11. There's no Windows 11 drivers. It wouldn't detect it, wouldn't find it. Okay, so we whip out the old. Right now, I'm on an old T420S from about 2008, maybe 2009. It's got Ubuntu 2204 on it, KDE. And it's working. It's detecting everything, and it's recording, and everything seems to be okay.
Yeah, explains why you look so grainy right now. But hey,
the camera's not the best quality, but it'll get us through.
just like demo gods, I think your podcast recording gods weren't kind to you today.
Not today. Welcome to GCP Life, episode number 66, for Friday, the 7th of June, 2024. GCP Life is sponsored by Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, Google is investing big in undersea cables and data centers. We give you an update on some industry news and a few cyber incidents. Plus, is NVIDIA using up all our power in the AI wars? But before we get to any of that, I want to welcome the co-host of the show, Adish Panther. How are you, Adish?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Banky, how are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. We've had a lot of rain here. I tell you, a lot of rain. And you probably heard in the cold open there, I just had a bit of a drama with my laptop, so we're fighting through at the moment. But all good. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Winter is truly upon us now, formally as well. So definitely noticing the colder weather, which I'm not appreciating as much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, apart from that, we had our offsite last week, which was great.
We did. Mantle Group had an offsite, and we did a bit of that hypercarding. How'd you go?
I survived. I didn't come last in any of my sessions, so...
I had, for one of our sessions, the second fastest lap time, so I was pretty proud of that.
It was all about how when you accelerate, right, around those corners.
Brake late, that's right, brake late and accelerate early, that's it, get out, hit the late apex and you're away, yep.
Tell you what, though, I did turn up pretty sore for the next few days from all bumping around in that cart.
It's hard work steering those things. It's a lot of work steering those things around. I've got new appreciation for race car drivers. I'll tell you what, they must be fit.
Yeah, indeed.
Aside from that, speaking of cyber incidents, I was hacked and I didn't know.
Oh no! From what?
So I use SoundCloud now. SoundCloud's a artist. I write a bit of music, and you can upload your music on there, and it's a social media platform. You can follow people, they can follow you back, and they can comment on your music, etc. I vaguely remember maybe years ago I had a pretty weak password on that. As you know, I've been going through and sort of vetting my passwords and bringing them all up to date and fixing them all. And I'm pretty sure that site had a pretty weak password on it. And I can't remember if I was notified or anything like that, but I found out yesterday when I was going through there that someone somewhere along the line had been into that account that wasn't me. And I could tell this was the case because there were about maybe 2,000 follows of other user accounts that I had not followed. A lot of the user accounts seem to be based in Latin America, and they all had sort of a similar motif. They just had dodgy pictures, dodgy names. The whole thing looked dodgy. And a lot of the accounts that I was following only had 1, 2, or 3 followers themselves. So I'm suspecting that what has happened is someone, there's been some dude who said, "Look, I can get you heaps of followers on SoundCloud because you get followers, then you can promote your music, right? That's the whole idea of it." And they were doing it with hacked accounts, and they were logging in and setting up follows with hacked accounts. And I honestly don't know how long it had been like that for. They'd not touched anything else in the account. All of my music's still there. All, the normal stuff is still there. There's no pay information in there or anything like that. So, yeah, I just had the fun of going through and unfollowing thousands of user accounts. Thousands of accounts.
I mean,
what are all these doing in here?
Yeah. It's not a surprise being hacked these days, eh? It just seems like a norm, like you're just waiting for something to be hacked. What do you use for your password manager then?
I'm currently using Bitwarden.
Bitwarden, very nice.
Yes, and Ian and I have had discussions on the show about this before, and I think even David Wall, previous co-hosts. Yeah, go in. If you're not using a password manager, go in, use a password manager. They have tools to check and do hygiene on your passwords. Don't reuse passwords. Don't use basic passwords. Use complicated passwords. Have different passwords for every site. Password Manager will allow you to do that. It stores them all in it. And
you don't need to remember your passwords.
No,
right?
I honestly can't tell you what the password is on most of my sites now.
Yeah. And
it's some big long crypto string, and I don't know what it is.
And you might not be a techie, but I think everyone should have some kind of a password manager. It doesn't need to be best in class for everyone. Yes, we're techies, and we'll always have a certain preference. I use NordPass because I really like how they set up things. But for my mum, for example, she's not really a techie. She can use something, rather than having those very basic passwords and the same passwords for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the built-in password manager in Chrome, my wife uses that, and I'm trying to get her off that into Bitwarden because you got the family deal because I've paid the subscription. But even if you're just using that, it's better than nothing, right? Better than reusing passwords. Better than having weak passwords.
Yeah, 100%. Something's better than nothing here.
So, the first thing I did was check that password was complex and unique, and it was, and I think I've changed it since then as well. No more problems now, but one to look out for.
Yeah, and two-factor auth whenever possible, eh?
Absolutely, particularly if there's payment or PII involved.
Yeah. You can actually get away with weak passwords if you have two-factor authentication with your phone in most cases.
Well, passwordless is even the trend now, right? Yeah. Don't even have a password. Just send me the MFA and we're away.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, that's my little piece of tech news: failing laptop and being hacked from my tech adventures.
Yeah, I actually have been busy moving houses. more than anything. Currently with very bad internet, which is why my video is very choppy. Very keen to get gigabit internet now in this place. We've got,
oh, right. You're in a region for it?
Yeah. We've got fiber to the premise, and just looking at Aussie Broadband.
Yep.
To get gigabit internet now. So very excited for that.
Yeah, I'm with Aussie Broadband at the moment, and look, at the end of the day, it's all NBN. But they've got a good app, and they're pretty on the ball. If there are problems, we're telling you about them. I wanted to make a change to. They put firewalling in place, but I wanted to make a change to open that up, and they were able to open that up for me, and they really didn't ask any questions. And now you can have a fixed IP, and they don't mind your hosting servers and all the rest of it. So if you want to do all that techie stuff, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to do a bit of smart home automation, bit of, smart home devices, all of that stuff. So watch this space. If you get more updates on this, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, awesome stuff. All right, should we get on with it? Let's get on with the show. Let's get on with the community news.
Yes, absolutely. So, community event in Sydney on Friday, the 7th of June. It's a event hosted by GDG Cloud Sydney. I'm one of the organizers of GDG Cloud Sydney, actually. It's a Google I/O extended event. It's actually sponsored by Mantle Group as well. And it's 2 talks, one on leveraging AI in defense, counter drones and beyond. Very interesting talk by Girath Vaishnav. And the other one is ISE and analysis on GCP with StackQL. So 2 very different but equally interesting talks. So if you're in Sydney, it's in the Google offices from 5:30 on Friday, the 7th of June.
Yeah, fantastic. And looks like there's a couple of giveaways as well.
Yeah. So we do giveaways of JetBrain licenses. So 2 JetBrain licenses every event, plus a few swag giveaways with a lucky draw. So yeah, if you're around, and there'll be free pizza and drinks as well. So
fantastic. So for those that are, this show will be published on Friday. If you're listening to the show on Friday, you should be able to get down there. It starts at 5:45 at Google Sydney, which is at 1 Darling Island. Sounds like it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good fun. Come say hi if you're around.
All right, cool. That's it for community news. Let's get on with the news items. First news item out of the stable today. First one in the stable today. That's what we'll say today. Google
changing it up,
invests in cable. Maybe I got to ask for Gemini for some better segues. But anyway, Google invests in cable connecting Australia and Africa. Now, this is interesting because this has never happened before. Google is set to build a new subsea cable that connects Perth to several African countries, the first direct route between Australia and Africa. Now, normally we go up to Perth, we go up to Broome, and then we go into Asia. That's been done a couple of times, but not straight across the Indian Ocean like this into Africa. The Umoja cable system comprises terrestrial routing starting at Kenya and passing through Uganda, Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa, including the Google Cloud region. So this is going to be great. I mean, this not only gives Australia direct access to Africa, but in a way it connects Africa more directly with the US. They'll be able to transit Australia now. Which gives them some extra diversity, right? An extra diverse path. And no doubt lower latency and probably higher throughput as well, because you're not bouncing through all these, all these odd places going up into Europe and then across to the US.
Yeah, like one of my big takeaways is there's this really long direct link between Perth and South Africa, right? Like you said, there's this hopping between different countries, different regions. It's very direct, very clean, and yeah, we'll probably see some good latency and response times improvements.
I would expect as well that having a connection like this, I mean, it's got to be good for the economy, right? It's going to stimulate some jobs. It'll encourage Google to put some more data centers in there and sort of bring Africa up into sort of the tech. They're probably I really have no understanding of the African IT industry, but I imagine it's really going to stimulate the tech industry there.
100%. Any investment in a region will definitely bring in more tech skills and interest in tech in general in the community. So definitely one to look out for in the future. Absolutely.
And while we're looking at Google's investment in hardware, Google are investing $2 billion in a Malaysian data center.
Yeah, Malaysia being the 12th region that Google is opening up. Very close to Australia from a regional perspective, which is very exciting. And a lot of money being poured there as well, eh?
Yeah, I'm just surprised that there's no data center there already, to be honest with you. They seem to have, everything else that, a Western economy would have. And a big data center is already there. But it does follow an announcement that Azure is doing similar as well, $2.2 billion from Azure. So I imagine this is just a leapfrogging kind of thing.
Yeah. What I was surprised by was, and I guess this was more just a bit taken aback, was Malaysia is only the 12th country with a data center that Google has. I thought there'd be more countries with Google data centers.
Yeah, no, you're right. I suppose they've been strategic about where they spread them over the world, right? There's like a number of data centers in the US, but that's only one country, right?
Yeah. I mean, what other, we've got one in Sydney, there are potential ones planned for New Zealand. What other APAC regions? I'm pretty sure there's one in Japan. Is that correct?
So, yeah, according to Google Cloud Locations at the moment, 40 regions, 121 zones, and available in 200 plus countries and territories. Obviously available, but not data centers there. So, yeah, large chunk in the US, Canada, Toronto, Oregon,
Taiwan, Hong Kong,
America.
Yep. Japan.
Oh, if we're talking Southeast Asia, yeah, that's right.
Sydney, Korea.
Melbourne, Singapore, Jakarta, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Osaka, Tokyo.
Yeah, Seoul. So just bolstering that Southeast Asia region, right? With another one in Malaysia. Very interesting times.
And potentially one in New Zealand. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And just going back to the article in Africa, we've got one in Johannesburg. Wouldn't surprise me if they put one a little bit further north, because that'll be right on the end of that cable.
Yeah, 100%.
And while we're on the theme, Google's pouring an additional $1.1 billion into the Finland data center to boost AI and sustainability. So more big spend. They've already got a data center there, but they're going to turn it up to 11 with this one.
Yeah, especially with more and more compute workloads being used for all the AI use cases. Again, probably doesn't come as a surprise that Google's investing more and more money into the data centers to make it bigger, more economically sustainable, and environmentally sustainable at the same time. So yeah, doesn't come as a surprise again.
Yeah, that's right. Now, here's the thing. Read the article in the show. I'll link the article in the show notes if you have a read about it. They talk about the power consumption. And this is becoming a bit of a big deal because I've talked about it before, mentioned it before on the show. The power consumption by data centers and AI in particular is bonkers. And I immediately made the naive thought or decision. It's like, well, how do they power Finland? What's driving it? I thought, got to be surely geothermal, right? It's going on at Finland. Well, no, it's not geothermal. I found incorrectly. Went and looked up the energy sector in Finland, and 41% of their power comes from nuclear.
Wow.
Now, what is very interesting about that number, they were, prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, they were importing a lot of power from the US, but that stopped now, and they've had to amp up their nuclear power generation to cover that. In the data on the Wikipedia page shows that in 2022, their power from nuclear sources was 29.7%. Now, the years prior to that, it hovered around 25, 27, 26. 2022 was 29.7 from nuclear. 2023, big jump up to 41% of their power usage was from nuclear. And I can only postulate, and we'll get onto an article later that does discuss this, that is largely due to data centers, AI, and electric cars.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's quite frightening, actually, the amount of power. We will talk about an article later, but it is quite frightening how much power we are consuming very quickly in the last couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. That power consumption in the last, I'd say, 5 years has grown exponentially with more and more IoT devices to start off with. And then we went on to smart cars, electric vehicles. And now we're spending so much energy on Gen AI and AI in general.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we've talked about the Blackwell chips, the NVIDIA Blackwell chips on the show before. You know, one of those suites, you're talking 10,000 kilowatt hours. One of those fully populated racks can pull. And you've got few of them in, a number of them in the data center, and the appetite for this at the moment is just off the charts. The power to come in, the only way it's going to get fixed is through regulation. And if there's no power there, it's going to slow the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Interesting times.
Interesting times. But anyway, we'll get onto that a little bit later in the show in the AI Wars. But for now, I just wanted to move forward a little bit. And we've got a few little industry items to talk about. We don't talk about industry stuff too much. But sackings all over the place. Telstra, sadly, my old employer from years ago, axed up to 2,800 jobs in a huge restructure plan. Now, you come from that stable as well, don't you, Dish?
I do have quite a few friends in Telstra, and what I found out was most of the cuts is actually on the struggling enterprise side. Turns out Telstra is not, doing all that well on the enterprise B2B sales. So a lot of the impacted roles are within that enterprise space. They're not necessarily cutting, core networking engineers or that part of the business, but more on the enterprise sales, etc. But yeah, big job cuts.
Right. And this article does mention that they're making cuts to deliver improved connectivity to support the ever-increasing growth in data volumes.
Mm.
So would that be kind of out with the old, in with the new? Cut one part of the business to push the money and bolster another part of the business?
Yeah, pretty much. Realigning, being a bit leaner organization, I'd imagine. Telstra's already moving away from being a traditional telco to very tech-focused company, doing not just offering mobile services now, offering cybersecurity services. At one point, Telstra was doing IoT. I think Telstra's just trying to focus more on what's going to deliver more and more business value and cutting down on things that are not delivering them the investment on the investment that they've made.
I'm sensing convergence here as well, right? So if you're supplying mobile phones to everybody, then supply the security service as well. How can you value add? How can you go above and beyond just what regular mobile phone providers are giving, and just a bit of extra service here with this security or an app or something else?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Telstra's always been a premium provider, right? So they'll never be competing on the price aspect with the customers.
That's right. And along with that, just to finish that one off, Telstra currently 31,000 employees. The 2,800 represents 9% of the workforce. So every time they have a cull, it ends up being more and more of the workforce. When I was there back in the day, it was around 50,000 people.
Wow.
We're down to 31,000 now.
That's a big drop in the last 10 or 15 years then.
That's right, yeah. So just moving on, Google as well, not immune to the cuts, has cut at least 100 jobs across the fast-growing cloud unit. Now, it's interesting that this has come from cloud.
Yeah, very interesting, given how cloud was actually posting record profits in the last quarter. The profits jumped from 28% from last year, and yet we're seeing job cuts. So very, very interesting. Again, we probably don't have enough details on the reasoning behind the job cuts, but definitely, yeah, I think it seems to be a common theme across the tech industry.
Yeah, so at least 200 employees from its core organisation, which included key teams and engineering talent.
So
200.
Yeah, so 200 was last month, and now Google has actually done 100 more this month.
Ah, right, okay, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, interesting. Wow, this is ongoing. But how many have they employed in that time?
Don't have the data. Don't have the data.
But we don't have the data. And while we're at it, Microsoft confirms a new round of layoffs. Azure and HoloLens teams impacted. So this is actually Microsoft, not so much, Azure was affected, but it's actually at the Microsoft level this has occurred.
Yeah, and this one's actually a lot more than Google as well. I mean, yes, Microsoft has more employees than Google, but Microsoft is cutting around 1,000 jobs in its Azure Cloud and HoloLens mixed reality teams. 1,000 people, Banky. It's a lot.
And last year they shed 10,000.
Yeah.
That was during the big shedding. Remember when Google put off a whole lot as well, and then Azure put off a whole lot. There was a big downturn in the tech industry, so to speak. Microsoft has been reducing its investments in virtual and augmented reality offerings to bolster its investment in artificial intelligence technology. I was having this discussion with my wife the other day, and, where's Facebook? Where's Meta? Where's the metaverse in all of this? I think they kind of missed it. Everyone kind of missed it. No, it's not going to be virtual and augmented reality. It's going to be AI that's about to explode.
Yeah.
Now, if we can combine the two together, then maybe we're getting somewhere, right? But it's not happening yet.
I envision, a combination of AI and the virtual reality just actually combining and having that real world use cases for people in the future.
That'll be good. I think we'll see that in gaming first, though. I think we'll see NPCs in games. There'll be a small language model, a small large language model, I guess, embedded in each NPC, and then the NPC will be given like a little backstory by the writer, and then the language model will be responsible for having a conversation with the user.
Yeah, 100%.
Could be wide.
The way I see it is a lot of AR, VR components have been very gimmicky so far. It's more, hey, we can do this, but we can't really get a lot of interesting use cases. And even when they can, something like Apple Vision Pro, it costs so much, right? So with a combination of Gen AI and advancements in AR and VR, I probably envision the use cases to be less gimmicky and more useful, and also use the capabilities of generative AI to, like you said, in gaming to start off with, have a better gaming experience for the user. And probably more AAA games in the future would be using those AR, VR with Gen AI capability.
Totally, yeah. I can see. I mean, it's probably cooking up now, right? I mean, if I was in the gaming industry, that'd be the number one thing I'd be going for right now, including language models with characters. In fact, I think there are some patches out for a few like Elder Scrolls and AAA titles that have that at the moment, and they're just aftermarket hacky patches. But if it gets built into the game from dot, then it's It's got to be better.
It's all about that immersive user experience in games, right? The more you can get me hooked in the game, the more I'll be playing, and maybe I'll take a week off to just play the games.
All right, let's move on, Hadish. Let's look at some security items. We've got a couple of new ones here and a few follow-ups. Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton, oh my God, don't get me started. Paris Hilton says it's addressing, or TikTok rather, says it's addressing a cyber attack that targeted brands and celebrities, including Paris Hilton. This is an article from BBC, but I think this is well-known information. Paris Hilton herself, her account wasn't hacked, but it was targeted. A number of other celebrity accounts was targeted. Of course, TikTok, we know, is owned by ByteDance, and there's been a lot of press around them recently. The US threatening to ban them if ByteDance doesn't sell it off. But this just adds more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, 100%. More hacks, more attempted hacks, rather. What's interesting is also, I was reading that the US is, really on the verge of banning TikTok eventually. And interestingly, both their presidential candidates are on TikTok now, because that's
oh boy, that is the irony of it, isn't it?
So the same article mentions that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are in TikTok, which was very, very surprising to me.
Look, they're going to use, it says in the article too, right? They're going to use any tool at their disposal to promote their cause, right? Promote who they are. And if TikTok's still a thing, well, use TikTok. It's still a thing, right? It's not them personally that wants to ban it, I can imagine. It's, their home affairs or security guys are, up in arms over it, as, that seems to be the problem. As long as it's there, they're going to use it.
Yeah, any tool to get the name out there, during election times, I guess.
That's right. But this particular hack does seem to be focusing on high-profile accounts. They're probably trying to do what they did with my SoundCloud account, and that's just try and drum up some followers for other people.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Or maybe post fake crypto scam videos. That's probably
most likely with the high-profile accounts. They probably wouldn't be going around following random people.
While we're on the security bandwagon, Microsoft Security takes another beating as Google Cloud showcases Microsoft's vulnerabilities. Now, this article, I'll link this article. This is in Accelerator Economy. We've linked to them before. He gives a bit of an op-ed on what it is, but there is a 14-page PDF that's been released by Google called A More Secure Alternative. In the wake of significant cybersecurity incidents with Microsoft, Google Workspace offers a safer choice. Interesting.
Very interesting. Just the choice of wordings from Google was very interesting to me more than anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't pull punches. They actually name and shame in the report. Take an article here. But now Nadella must confront the enemy within. A massive and wildly successful global corporation that has lost its way so badly in the existential battle against cybercriminals that not only Nadella, but also the worldwide head of Microsoft's security business felt the need late last week to publish long, detailed and bluntly worded statements designed to showcase Microsoft's unconditional and unwavering commitment to cybersecurity. So this is in the report. I'm not making this up. This is in the Google report.
Yeah. And they even go further saying Microsoft has no one to blame but itself. And I quote this. This is quite inflammatory comments from an organization.
It's very inflammatory, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll link the report in the show notes. Go and have a read of it because they're not holding back here. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Google are essentially telling potential users that if you want a more secure platform, don't use Microsoft, use Google. Flat out. They're not even just trying to say we're a good platform, we're a secure platform. They're just saying Microsoft's a shitty platform.
That's what they're saying. They're just straight up calling it, aren't they? Now, look, I've got to I have to kind of agree with this. I mean, they don't have a great track record, especially on the desktop. What can they do? What can they do? Everybody, not only Microsoft, everybody has to get better at this.
Yeah.
But Google aren't. They're not completely clean either. They do mention in the article that, in fact, these same nation-state actors attacked Google in 2009, and those attacks led us to make far-reaching security improvements.
Yeah.
Right, so they're not squeaky clean. They're calling themselves out as well, but they're also saying, "Look, we got better because of that." This is the thing: everybody needs to get better because of this.
Yep.
Everybody.
And the big advantage that Google has in this space is Microsoft workspace tools were not born in the cloud. They were born on servers on-prem, right? And like your Teams and Words, there were applications that you had to physically install, whereas
Word.exe, absolutely.
Yeah. And you had to get licenses for them, right? Like I remember, and I was very young at this point, but I remember mid-2000s, I'd have to get licenses to install Office.
Yeah.
It wasn't even called 365. Office 365 is their native tool. You had to physically install those licenses in your laptops, whereas the Google Workspace was born in the cloud. Like there is no licensing. It's a SaaS product.
Word. I remember installing Word. So we had Word 2.
Yeah.
And then Word, I think it was Word 4, and then we went to Word 6. Going to Word 6, that was a big jump.
Yeah.
Everybody got Word 6 and had the latest and greatest stuff on it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all installed, right? And if you were a fancy system administrator, you could have a batch file that ran and installed it on everyone's machines automatically.
Exactly. So that's probably where a lot of Google's security advantages comes as well, because it's managed in Google's environment. It's a SaaS product. You just use it. You don't need to install it.
That's right. And like you say, it's born in the cloud and the security is baked in from the beginning. All right, while we're on the subject of security, we've got a couple of follow-ups on a few stories that we covered. We've been covering for a few years now. The Optus leak. Optus loses bid to hide Deloitte report on data breach. Now, there was Deloitte conducted a report on the 2022 data breach. And the law firm Slater and Gordon asked. Obviously, there's a class action going against them, and Slater and Gordon has asked for the information to be made available to them, and Optus said no, and it went to court, and sure enough, they can get the information now. Simple as that. And it should be made available. They need to be held accountable here, right?
100%. I'll admit. I'm probably a little bit conflicted on this, in the sense, if I'm a private company, yes, I probably don't want to share all the details of the hack that happened to my competitors as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It does say here, although the report, which was prepared by Deloitte, will not be made public, portions will likely be released to the case's progress. So I think they're aware of that, and they're just going to get the bits that they need to make the case.
But yeah, absolutely agree. There needs to be visibility when incidents of this magnitude happen, and incidents of this magnitude affecting this many people happen. I remember like there were so many people who were encouraged to change their licenses. People feeling vulnerable after the addresses were shared, things like that. Like absolutely, these big companies need to be held accountable for this. And
if you're going to keep on my PII, then you've got to keep it properly,
right? Got to keep it properly. And I can only hope that, with verdicts like these, it will encourage more companies to take the security more seriously, which if they aren't already doing it, to be honest.
And that's right. And along the same lines, Medibank is being sued by the privacy regulator, a move welcomed by former customers and cybersecurity experts. This is a story from ABC. We had the double whammy there. We had the Optus and the Medibank hack, which I can not so proudly say I was involved in both. And we have, potentially a huge fine here because of the numbers. The maximum potential fine is about 21 trillion. That's trillion with a T dollars. But it'll be up to the federal court to determine the final amount.
Yeah.
Just staggering.
That is staggering numbers. Numbers that could bring a company down.
Yeah. So I think it's just because of the magnitude, right? Interfered with the privacy of 9.7 million Australians, failing to take responsible steps to protect their PII.
Yeah. And interestingly, their revenue still grew even after that. So it was.
No one seems to care. That's what frightens me about it. I mean, does anyone care? Like, investors don't seem worried about it, right?
But that's the problem in Australia, right? There's only a few big players in every sector. Telco, you have 3 big players. You've got the 4 big banks. You've got 4 big insurance companies. So the customers don't really have a lot of choices. So they're stuck. They're stuck with all these hacks. That it happens. You lose your confidential information. You try and get new data points for yourself, and then you just move on as Australians. It's just it's just a shame.
Yeah. So it does say here its revenue rose 1.3%. To 3.65 billion. That was after the attack. So we'll keep you up to date with both of those stories, and it's going to be. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in some of those discussions, but let's hope some other organisations pull their socks up if they see these guys get made an example of. All right, then, should we do it? Should we get on with the AI wars?
Indeed.
All right, we mentioned at the top of the show about the stupid amount of power that's being consumed. Well, that's all being driven because NVIDIA is making some crazy compute, and we've talked about it on the show before, Blackwell, but that's done well for their revenue. NVIDIA achieves record revenue of US $26 billion in quarter one. They don't just make video cards, people. NVIDIA has reported a groundbreaking first quarter for the fiscal year of 2025, with revenue soaring to 26 billion US, marking an 18% increase from the preceding quarter and a staggering 262% rise year on year. What is going on?
I just regret not investing in NVIDIA, to be honest.
Where's my NVIDIA shares?
Where is my NVIDIA shares? My God.
Well, they're going to do a share split, and so that'll stimulate the market a little bit more. And,
but 260% rise year on year is unheard of numbers.
I mean, well, who's making AI chips? Who's doing making the AI stuff? I mean, they're the only player in the game. Talk about a monopoly.
Yeah, this is like selling shovels in the gold rush, right? NVIDIA is selling the shovels.
Selling shovels in the gold rush. I like it. And they're the only ones selling shovels,
Shout out to our colleague Dhirendra Nath, who came up with this title, but not mine.
Analogy, yeah.
But I love that analogy of selling shovels in this AI gold rush. When the gold rush happened in the US, that's when Levi's was invented, because Levi's provided the right material for the miners to do their mining, right? And Levi's is a $1 billion company now because they were able to build a brand out of the gold rush. And that's exactly what NVIDIA is doing now. Everyone's running after OpenAI, Google, and NVIDIA is just quietly raking in record profits.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, they're providing to all the hyperscalers, AWS, Google, Microsoft, Oracle.
They don't care who they sell
and
to.
they've got-
They just want to sell.
Don't care. No. They've got absolutely the best AI platforms that are available. I don't even know how another company would even begin to get close. I mean, AMD,
Yeah.
you know, like, how could you even get close to what they're doing?
No. Short answer, in my opinion, no. You can try.
Well, they're so far behind the game now, right? I mean, NVIDIA has been doing this for a long time, and to play catch up now, I don't know how you do it. Big hill to climb.
Yeah, and they're forecasting revenues of 28 billion for the second quarter as well. Again, massive numbers there. I imagine they'll probably end up being more than 28, again, given the exponential rate that we're going on with this AI revolution, for the lack of better word.
That's it. Now, I'll link the next article from Forbes. It goes on and talks about the cloud service providers in an arms race, investing hundreds of billions of dollars, which we've seen already. At the top of the show, we talked about Google investing in data centers. But data centers are huge electricity hogs. And the availability of power, taking a quote here from the article, availability of power is a major bottleneck to their global expansion. Global expansion. It sounds like I could have ruled the world, right? Aging and inefficient electrical grids are not able to scale to keep up with the demand. The rapid growth of data centers coincides with the increased adoption of electric vehicles, driving power demand far beyond expectations. You know, when do we get to the point where Google says, righto, screw you guys, we're going to build a data center and we're going to put a nuclear reactor next to it to power it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Because that's where we're going, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Because now we're getting closer to a point where it's not the data center that's the bottleneck, it's the electricity. Getting electricity to the data center effectively, that's going to be the bottleneck for advancement. And when that happens, what's going to stop $1 trillion company like Google to just generate their own power for the data centers, right?
It'll get to a point where it becomes economically viable to do that, right? The race will extend to that point. This article does go on to say electricity consumption for data centers and artificial intelligence could double by 2026. Double. I mean, that's less than 2 years away. Already talked about how the power consumption for Finland has shot through the roof in the last 2 years. We're also going to double. We're going to double that again.
Double in 2026 is mind-boggling to me.
The predicted after global consumption estimated 460 terawatt hours in 2022. Electricity consumption from data centers could reach more than 1,020 terawatt hours in 2026. Doubling the demand is roughly equivalent to the entire electricity consumption of some industrialized countries, such as Japan.
Yeah.
So we're going to add an entire country to our already loaded electricity grid.
Yeah.
Because of this.
I can only feel for the consumer demand, though. I don't know how consumers are going to keep up with this increase in demand.
Well, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the environment. If you go and look up, I might link this in there. If you look up where our electricity comes from,
it's all coal.
Right? Coal and oil, man. Coal and oil. That's it. Like the vast majority, like 80% is coal and oil. Gas is a little bit. And then, your clean energies, nuclear, hydro, thermo, blah, 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 tiny fraction.
There was a point where the New South Wales government used to really encourage people getting solar in their own homes. And it stopped doing rebates after a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if they restart those rebates and encourage more people to get solar again.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We know here in New South Wales that we're going to shut down one of the coal-fired plants, and they've extended it now for another couple of years. Haven't shut it down because the demand suddenly shot up for electricity, and renewables aren't coming online quick enough to replace that demand. And we just keep pumping more greenhouse gas into the atmosphere.
Yeah, this actually makes...
Which is a sad outcome.
Yeah, this actually makes all the crypto mining look like nothing compared to...
Doesn't it? Yeah, crypto mining's nothing. Anyway, I don't recommend you go out and look at the numbers on power consumption and where we're headed, because it's not going to make you happy. It's just going to make you depressed.
Absolutely.
But let's move on with some more AI news. This one's a little bit better, actually. Google Cloud unveils generative AI ops. Of course, you've got to add AI to everything, don't we? To aid enterprise customers. Now, this one looks cool. It's set to introduce a new service called Generative AI Ops. That phrase just there captures everything, doesn't it? It's got Gen AI and Ops. We just add, all they need to do is add security in that, and you've got it. You've got the trifecta.
Yeah.
Right?
So
aimed at assessing enterprise customers in transitioning AI applications and models from concept to production.
Yeah. We've gone from DevOps to ML Ops to Gen AI Ops now. But fundamentally, I guess it's productionizing generative AI use cases for organizations. It's just providing tools, frameworks, patterns to do that, is my understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it gives them a platform to generate Gen AI apps that will support their business. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, that's needed because most of the organizations aren't well equipped to get their generative AI POCs into production just yet. So this will only help accelerate that process.
That's right. And they give a couple of examples here in the article. Google partnered with Bristol Myers Squibb to develop an AI-powered interface to aid its clinical study teams in locating vital information and generating documents. And similarly, Palo Alto Networks launched a suite of AI tools using Gemini AI to enhance user experience and boost the productivity of security practitioners. So they're the kind of things that you could do.
Yeah, and also adding monitoring and observability as well into Gen AI deployments, which is incredibly critical for any production workloads.
Cool. All right. And then one last article. It's kind of a funny one just to finish off the show and round out the AI wars. Parliament, everyone's going to fall for this. Parliament published a submission containing AI drafted inaccuracies. Oh boy. So someone's created a document with ChatGPT. That information's made it into their document and it was false information.
Oh dear.
And it wasn't detected until the submission was published and the party had false allegations made against them and they said, hey, this wasn't us. And it didn't happen. That it got sorted out. Like, come on, guys. Rookie mistake, right?
Absolutely. One of those things where probably everyone uses it. But if you use it, you got to take the responsibility to validate the outcomes from any Gen AI tools, right? Whether it be ChatGPT.
That's right. You become the editor in that case. That's the editor's role, right? In a newspaper or a magazine or anything. Yeah, that's what the editor does. So ChatGPT might be writing it, but the editor's got to read it and proofread it and fact check it and make sure it's all right and all this stuff. And if you're not doing that, then you're dropping the ball.
And there's so many questions here that I have around some of the privacy violations that might have had when someone put information in ChatGPT around this.
No, well, it does open the question, right? Like, what if this had gone further? What if it had made it into law or something like that? Right? I don't think it ever would because there's enough checks and balances. Obviously, it got picked up, but the potential's there, right? It could go further. What if someone's wrongly accused of something because of ChatGPT? What if it triggers some sort of incident, because it was spreading some falsehoods? I don't want to put my tinfoil hat on, but, I think right now we're seeing this technology is burgeoning, right? People are still getting used to it, right? You've got to get used to the idea that this thing's going to be wrong. It's not perfect. You still need to do some work. I don't think that's going to go away.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to assume this is simply a case of someone not doing their job right. Someone just putting stuff in ChatGPT and copy pasting it into the documents.
Yeah. Here's an idea. And they kind of mentioned this in the article, in a roundabout way. He says there is not currently any routine use of diagnostics tools to spot AI-generated portions of submissions. But he hoped a trial of Microsoft Copilot M365 might lead to a technical way to identify and flag such submissions. Now, here's where we can have the bots fight the bots, right? And this is what I thought. You know how at the moment you've got in Google Workspace, you get this thing that comes up to put the sensitivity on a document, right? And in all orgs you have it, right? Whether it's highly sensitive, it's publicly available, whatever, you can put that on there. Why not integrate Gemini with Google Workspaces, and it will scan your document and detect if any of it has been generated with AI. And then it puts a little flag at the top of the document, and it will say portions of this document may have been generated with AI systems. And then you click the button, and then it highlights what it thinks has been generated with AI. We already have tools that detect AI-generated content. Why not just build it into Sheets or into Google Workspace?
Do you want Gemini to detect Gemini-generated?
Yes, absolutely. or whatever, ChatGPT or Llama or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I guess
just build it into the
I guess
tool.
The only question is how accurate those things are. Like, some people can write really well, and it may appear like it has happened through Gemini or ChatGPT, right? So it's really understanding. It's really, I guess, figuring out how those words are generated. If it's a copy paste, maybe that you can add some encoding to those exact set of words.
You can tell. I reckon I've got pretty good AI radar. I reckon I've got pretty good. You can read it, and the first sentence you can go, "You've used AI to generate this, right?" You can kind of tell when it is, and it's not written by a person. So yeah, I don't know. Look, it still would come down to the user checking, right? All it can do is make a suggestion and say potentially portions of this document have been AI generated, and it could highlight them. Then it's up to you. I mean, you could still. The fact that it is AI generated shouldn't be a problem. You could still use it, but it just flags it and says, this needs to be checked. This should be checked.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, despite all the technical problems, I think we've got an episode recorded, Atish. And that'll probably wrap it up for today. It was a good discussion. Not too much Google stuff today, but a couple of follow-ups there. And boy, don't go and look up how much power we're using, because it's very depressing. Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Go to YouTube, start the discussion there. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button while you're there. And go to iTunes, write a review for the show. That'll really help the show out. You can contact the show, gcplife@mantlegroup.com.au. And today's sponsor, of course, is Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. That's about it from me. Anything else from you, Adish?
Nothing more. Thank you. Really enjoyed my first full episode today.
Yeah, it's been great having you on, mate, and look forward to many, many more shows with you. Fantastic.
Yeah, hopefully I don't have the curse.
No, you'll be right. We're gonna blow that curse away. No problems there. All right, we'll catch you later. See you. Bye.
Sorry, just wanted to clarify the projected fines. Is that going to the customers, or is that just a fine that they'll have to pay to the government?
We have a look at the article.
Medibank needs to pay for what happened to their customers, as they didn't really take care for the user data. But they don't actually mention where this payment goes to.
Yeah, huge potential fines. The Commissioner is subsequently going after the company for misuse and unauthorised access or disclosure in breach of Privacy Act 1988. Each individual each time they contravene that, it comes with a maximum penalty of 2.2 million.
Wow.
Right? That's the maximum penalty for contravening the Privacy Act of 1988. And because there was 9.7 million customers, it works out to a potential fine of more than $21 trillion.
Okay. Yeah.
That's nuts. I mean, that's the GDP of a country.
Yeah.